Where the fuck did you go? Good morning and welcome to Ask Wildman. My name is Miles Bassett, the CEO and founder over at Wildman Web Solutions, digital marketing in Lawrence, Kansas. We put out this show every week, live streaming to our Facebook page and YouTube channel to answer any and all questions anyone might have about business, technology, marketing, or anything else you want to throw in here. So this is an open Q&A, so throw your questions in there. You can email us if you're watching this later at askwildman@wildmanweb.com. I've got that address scrolling below me in the crawler down here. So we'll go through that email inbox and through your comments, try to answer all questions. And we are doing this this is a weekly show. We live stream every Wednesday at 11. So if you're catching this later, make sure to jump on and join us live next Wednesday at 11. All right, joining me here as always, nice big introduction, Mike Hanna. Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Miles.
There we go.
Absolutely fantastic. I think I was on mute there for a second. Yeah, just hopping in the old co-captain's chair here with you. Privilege as always, sir. How are you this morning?
I'm doing good. Wouldn't be a good live stream without a couple of technical difficulties to start things off with, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
It was
you got to
totally
keep
user
everyone
error. Yeah,
on
I
the
think
edge of their
the
seat.
text fine. It was the human element.
He's the chief suspense officer over here at Wildman Web Solutions, Mike Hanna.
Never a dull moment around here.
Nonsense. Now, so like I just said, this is an open Q&A. It's meant to be a discussion with you, the viewers. So make sure to throw your comments below and anything you want us to talk about, any questions you have, or if you have any personal experiences with the things we're going over, go ahead and throw those in there. We'll show them in the stream if they're relevant. Or if you just want to say hi. Also, we are doing this as a public resource. We started doing this during the original COVID-19 pandemic shutdowns. A lot of businesses were starting to get online, for some of them for the first time, and some of them were really leveraging their online presence for the first time. And so we, as a local digital agency, were getting all of these questions, just inundated with questions on how to do some of this stuff. So we started doing this live stream just to tackle some of those frequently asked questions and give people a resource to ask some local specialists how to tackle some of this stuff. But it is meant to be a resource for everyone. So if you think the information that we're providing here is valuable, or if you know anyone that might find this useful, please share, share, engage, comment, whatever you can do. Anything that you do that engages with this video helps us to reach more people, hopefully answer some more questions and be more of a resource to our community and yours. So like, share, comment, all of the social media stuff, you know what to do. All right, getting into the questions here. We've got a couple of things over here. First of all, I wanted to tackle one that actually came from a conversation we had yesterday. And that was someone asking about SEM. In the context was sort of explaining where to use SEM versus SEO, what those things were. So I just kind of wanted to dispel some of those things here off the top. So real quick, I know I've talked about SEO before on this show, but just a high level definition before we get into SEM. SEO is search engine optimization. A little bit of a self description, pretty descriptive title there, but basically, in an SEO effort, SEO campaign, you are optimizing something, typically a business website, um, for search. So you're starting off doing some keyword research, keywords being what people are actually typing into their search engines in order to find you. Um, and then optimizing your content, your website, your listings, all the data about you and your full online presence to match those keywords so that when people search for those selected keywords, they're finding you. This is really targeted at organic traffic. When I say organic, I don't mean raised on a farm. I mean that you didn't pay for it. It means that people are finding you naturally or organically. SEM is kind of the other side of that coin. Still talking search engines, we're still talking about that same process of someone searching for you, optimizing that for a particular campaign. Um, However, we're talking about paid traffic, and um, that's search engine marketing. So basically, you're running a campaign in Google AdWords, or you're doing Bing ads, and you are targeting a specific demographic, a specific keyword set, and putting your website, your Facebook page, whatever it is, um, in front of those people, and you're paying for that traffic. So you might recognize these things when you search for anything. You go to Google, type in anything, um, and you're first going to see some sponsored posts there, some ads. They're going to be labeled. They say sponsor, they say ad. They have that little green icon next to them. These are these are ads. So that's SEM, that's search engine marketing. Below that, you'll see probably the map block, and then below that, you'll see organic results. So when we're talking about SEM, we're talking about that top block. And we're talking about SEO, you're talking about that third section there for organic posts or organic content. So there's a couple of key differences between these two efforts. I won't say one is better or worse, or one is right or wrong. Much like other digital marketing tools or tactics, there's sort of a time and place for everything. So as long as you're using it properly, then both of these tactics, both of these tools can be highly beneficial to small businesses in extending their online presence, and hopefully increasing sales. But the first big difference here between SEO and SEM is um, your measurement tactics, your metrics. So one of the big benefits, one of the big pros for search engine marketing is that the analytics are amazing. We'll just talk about Google Ads, especially when paired with Google Analytics. The amount of data that you can get on these campaigns is ridiculous. So you can market to a very specific demographic for a very specific keyword sets, and track who is seeing it, how many people are seeing it, how much money you're spending per view, per click. And then if you pair it with Google Analytics, say your ad is going to your website, then you can track people all the way from initially seeing your ad, seeing it, clicking on it, going to your website, and then how they behave on your website. So you can see everything that's going on here and just get a ridiculous amount of data. This allows you to do a couple of things. First of all, you can see what's working and what's not, put more resources behind what's working, and maybe a little more love into something that's not working, or change your tactics a little bit. It allows you to be a little bit more agile because you have all of this wealth of data coming in. You can tell pretty quickly what's getting you the best results, and it's pretty easy to prove ROI on this because there is going to be sort of a more one-to-one correlation of dollars spent to conversions made, especially if you have a well-defined call to action. Maybe that's buying something on your e-commerce website. Maybe that's clicking on a call you button, or filling out a form on your website, or whatever it is. If there's something very measurable there, very at the end of this process, then measuring that ROI for an SEM campaign can be pretty straightforward. Versus SEO, what we're doing there is we're starting off with a benchmark. After we determine what your keywords are going to be, We do some searches and we figure out an average. So let's say we pick a keyword and we find that you're number 17 organically or something. And then we're going to work on improving your website, doing on-site SEO, doing off-site SEO. If you want to hear more about those tactics, go back and watch some previous episodes where I go pretty into depth here. Or if you want me to tackle it a little bit more here, then say something in the comments. I'll always gladly go down that rabbit hole with you. And then after we do some of this work, we're going to see how that affects that ranking. If your ranking goes up and you were at 17 and now you're at 11, then we know what we're doing is working. But we're waiting for that response from the real world. And depending on your industry, the amount of traffic that we're talking about here, what search engine we're dealing with, and a number of other factors, this can take some time. So there's going to be this delay in between what you do and then the real world results that can be days, weeks, or months down the line. So the entire process is a little bit more of a trial and error kind of period. And because those results do take a long time to really manifest, you're not able to be as agile with your efforts, with your campaign as a whole. Next big difference between these two, and this is one that I kind of brought up in our conversation yesterday. I believe the analogy was the difference between SEM and SEO is the difference between and owning property. On a rental property, you can have a really nice condo, but as soon as you stop paying rent, you got nothing. You do not own that. You have no stake in it. You have no equity. While you're paying for it, you have it. When you stop paying for it, it's done. Same thing happens on um, for SEM, for marketing. Even if you have an amazing campaign going, you're displaying the exact right ad to the right people at the right time. It's converting very well. It's doing a lot of good work for you. The moment you stop, pad is gone. You don't display there anymore. You're not showing anything to that audience anymore. So you have to continue paying for this thing. And after you're done with the campaign, there's no built up equity there. There's no residual effects outside of hopefully a couple new happy customers that would hopefully become returning customers. SEO is a little bit more like, owning that property, owning that land, because as you work on it, you improve your website's language, you improve your website's metadata, you create content, you cross post, you guest blog, you sites and directories and map services, all of these things will retain value past the SEO campaign. So say you did a 6-month SEO campaign and you jumped from the second page up to the first page of Google. That means that stop that SEO campaign, you're not just immediately going to jump off or drop off that first page. You're going to stay there because what you've done is actually built equity in your online property. So there can be some residual effects there. Now, I'll put one caveat in there, and that is that if you did a bunch of great SEO and you got yourself to the first page, you can't just stop and then expect to be on the first page forever because other people are working, other people are doing SEO. The world is kind of moving around us. So if you do stop doing an SEO campaign, while everything you did there is going to retain its value, expect other people to be moving towards you and maybe start passing you. You're going to see that ranking start to slowly drop over time. So there is a little bit of maintenance there required. So while there are a couple of pretty key differences between SEO and SEM, there is one kind of overarching fact that is similar between the two, and that is their place in the sales funnel. I know Mike has given in his whole spiel on the sales funnel, but just really quickly there, starting off at the top, the biggest section, this is brand awareness. This is people just getting to know that you exist. You are reaching out to as broad an audience as possible and saying, hey, I'm here, I exist, just letting you know. that's the very top end of everything. As you move down into the next section, a little bit smaller, these are that's where they're really getting to know, here's my products, here's my services, here's my business. And these people at this point are getting to be more actively interested in you, your company, and your offering. They're not ready to buy yet. They're not ready to convert yet, but they are also a little bit past just knowing that you exist. They're actively interested in who you are and what you're doing. And then once you move past that, you're getting closer and closer to the bottom of that sales funnel, and that is the close. Eventually, obviously, you're wanting to close some sort of deal, some sort of call to action, some sort of conversion, and ultimately increasing sales. So both SEO and SEM kind of funnel. And so that is, you're not going to do a lot of brand awareness increase with SEO or SEM. You're not going to reach out to a bunch of new people, a bunch of new audiences or anything. But what you are going to do is you're going to capture more of those people that are interested in your type of service, and they're going to go to you instead of your customers. So at this point, I've already decided I'm hungry. I want burgers for dinner. I'm going to go to the search engine. I'm going to go to Google. I'm going to search burger restaurant, Lawrence, Kansas. Now, at that point, we've passed that top level of funnel, and I'm actively interested in possibly purchasing something. We just need to make sure that that person is arriving at you before arriving at your competition. So that's either by seeing your SEM ad at the top, or by arriving at your organic result via some search engine optimization. So both of them kind of fall in the same category of that middle funnel type of activity. So again, both of these things, incredibly valuable campaigns and efforts to put out there. They have some pretty clear pros and cons. And neither one I'm going to say is better than the other one, but they definitely fit more appropriately in different types of campaigns. So you have to decide, based on the information that I've just given you about SEO and SEM campaign, what it is you're trying to do based on your industry, your competitors, and your knowledge of your business, which one is going to be right for you. With that, I guess I'll step off of my soapbox and let Mike jump in here. Do you have any other additional points or anything I've missed on the SEO and SEM comparison?
Yeah, good stuff there, Miles. I just had a couple things maybe to add on to what you were saying. And hopefully in an ideal world, it's not an either or situation. It's a and both, and it's just maybe which one are we going to spend more money on? Because I think you really do need both. You want to obviously have a great SEO ranking for all of the things that people may search for you. But then if there's certain things that you really want to convert on, there's not going to be a better way to convert than SEM, and certainly not a better way to track it than SEM. So, and I really think of SEM too as really bottom of the funnel, just as much as middle of the funnel. It's really, when somebody's in that buying mode, they've already decided they're going to buy your product or your service. They're just really trying to figure out who they're going to do business with. And so, of course, the best way to overcome that is we talked about last week with apps is skipping search entirely and becoming top of mind with your customer within that certain product or service category. And so hopefully, we're able to put together a marketing campaign where the bulk of the revenue is coming from people where we don't need SEO or SEM. But we obviously are not going to have total market share, so this SEO and SEME is really a great way to take market share and to bring in new customers. And again, it's not something like you alluded to. You're going to build brand with. You're not going to you're not going to bring in people who have no idea why they need your product or service. But if somebody's in the market for your product or service, it's certainly get them in if they're not already thinking about you. I think that if we had to pick one or the other, I would say get your head in. I'll admit this stat I'm about to throw out is at least a couple years old. So if you have a better one, feel free to correct me. But last I checked, 85% of clicks from a Google search were in the organic search results in the SEO portion, and not the SEM portion, not the part at the top where it says ads. Only 15% or less of all clicks, according to Google last time I checked. So Obviously, the bulk of the purchases, the bulk of the traffic is going to come from organic results. So to me, if you're down on 5 and all of your key keywords and categories in SEO, that's not the time to do an SEM campaign about short-term results. As you alluded to, SEO is definitely a long game, and SEM, you could get results theoretically tomorrow as long as you have a good offer and people are searching for it, right? So, obviously, we always want to be trying to position ourselves for long-term success and building out towards the future, and not chasing dollars and chasing our tail trying to have short-term successes. But it is what it is sometimes. And of course, going into fourth quarter, which is tomorrow, sometimes people are looking for short-term wins before the end of the year. So SEM is certainly a great way to do that. And the other thing I really like you alluded to as well is that it's really easy to track. I mean, we can certainly set up multiple conversion points and track that very, very easily, and the client can know exactly what their ROI is, or what we call ROA, return on ad spend, as well as easily figure out what is your cost of acquisition. So that can really help a company that maybe has not done that kind of marketing exercise before and gotten that data. That's something that you could easily glean from an SEO campaign, is a lot of new clients. So I think the only other thing that I really wanted to harp in on and jump in on was that great point you made about the difference between rental, and ownership kind of that space that you're buying in SEO and SEM. And I think the fact that that once you turn off SEM, it's gone. You're not going to be at the top of the page anymore. Is certainly a factor to consider, and harks back to something that we harp on a lot when we're talking about how to set up a marketing campaign and how to not over rely on a platform, is to always be sending that traffic to something that you own. So theoretically, that's usually 2 places: your website, or your app, or an email list. So that's really important to consider. If you are going to do an SEM campaign, or really anything. I mean, if you're doing a Facebook Messenger campaign, you need to have a way to move those people to your website or to your email list, or at least get their name, phone number, and email address. And so you can contact them later. You can set up a custom audience. You can do something once you turn all that stuff has not just gone away. So that would be the only thing I would really jump in and say. It's important to do that if you're going to spend the kind of money that you're going to do on SEO and SEM, because let's be honest, it's usually a pretty good sized investment, especially for a small business.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was trying to say when I said, there's a time and place for both of these tactics. One isn't necessarily better than the other. These are apples and oranges in some ways, in that they're really good at their own thing. Like you said, SEM can be a really quick turnaround. So if you're looking for something very specific, you have a very specific offer that isn't a long-term play, maybe a sale that's going on, a temporary offer, or if you're really trying to just give one aspect of your business a really strong boost, or just temporarily increase traffic to somewhere, then SEM can be a really can just be this adrenaline shot into a campaign, where you can get in front of a lot of people for a fairly reasonable amount of money. You can have that campaign be highly targeted, and you can get a ton of data on it. I think that it can be even faster than say a Facebook marketing campaign, which should be thought of in a little bit more long-term, I don't know,
Yeah,
longer term strategy.
I think
SEM
that's
and Google
true,
Ads can be very
just
quick.
because you're finding that mid bottom of the funnel people fast. I think it's 100% correct.
And
Now
then,
I may caution people though that it is a little bit tougher, I think, to execute a Google AdWords campaign, especially off the bat. So I don't think it's as do it yourself as Facebook can be. I think Facebook can sometimes be a little bit easier to stumble into something if you don't know what you're doing than Google Ads. But yeah, if you know what you're doing, I think you're right. You can just kind of cut to the chase a little bit faster uh, because it's just people who are in the bottom funnel. Yeah, that's a good point there, Miles.
Yeah, and then to
Uh,
extend a little bit on that stat that you cited there, that is true. That people think that just being at that top of the Google search page is going to be highly advantageous, and a lot of people are going to click on that. But despite your ads being there right at the top, they're actually the last. When you do search for something, you're going to see those sponsored things there at the top. You're going to see that map section there, and then you're going to see the organic results usually, depending on what you're searching on. But most of the now it depends on what study you're looking at, but yeah, something like 65 to 80 something percent of the clicks are just skipping past the ads, past the map, and going straight to organic results. So those
yep.
can be the most powerful there. And if you can get there on the first page of just those organic results, which really means you need to be top 4 or 5, then that can be advantageous to you. I mean,
And
some people say the second page of Google might as well not exist. I don't think that that's true, but it's definitely awesome to be on that first page. The second one that's clicked is actually the maps. So you got to make sure that your directory and map service things are accurate so that you're displaying properly on those maps. If we're talking Google, make sure that you have your Google My Business page claimed because that's tied
oh
directly
yeah,
into their map services. Make sure that you've verified your business location because again, that ties into map services. And then the last thing clicked up there is the actual ads at the top. So that is something else to throw in there. And then there's another variable that I don't actually have all of the answers on, but some new data is coming in showing that maps in or ads in the maps section are converting higher than um, ads on the standard search result.
hmm,
So you'll
I
notice in
believe that.
some things, if you click on the little map section, like show me more or something, and
Hmm.
it takes you to that. Um, there's a bunch of listings and a bunch of addresses, and the top one sometimes will say, sponsored, or there's a little green icon that says ad or something. And that type of ad is actually converting the normal ads in the regular search results. Now, all the data isn't in on that, and I'm not entirely sure, so fact check
Yeah,
me on it. But um, uh, from what I've seen so far, those may be a better bet.
that's very believable, Miles. I could certainly see that. Yeah, and while we're digging up facts here, yeah, let's see if you can find. I know you don't have nothing better to do today, but let's see if you can find some facts on SEO and SEM traffic since COVID, because this is my somewhat educated guess, but I would think that SEO and SEM, rankings and positioning right now has been more important than it really ever has been, given what we've seen with the explosion of e-commerce and just the explosion of online sales and traffic over the last 6 months. People who spent the last year or two building up their positions in SEO, and getting in the top three, in their categories, don't they look smart right now? Um, and so I think that's something that we all need to take a little bit more seriously than maybe we did pre-COVID, is how we're ranking in all of our relative search results for products and services. Because if we're not there in the top section, we are missing out on a whole lot of traffic. And of course, that leads to a whole lot of sales.
Yeah, there have been a couple of things happening recently in just this COVID world that definitely impact this. And I can see if I can find some more specific statistics here later. But in general, you're absolutely right. There has been a spike in people conducting business online. We've been working with a lot of businesses to try to get them online because there are there's more people buying things online now than before. Also, there's more people buying things online for the first time. So these are people that don't necessarily know how to buy their favorite products online. So they're going to start with a search
100%.
and they're going
Yeah.
to judge companies based on number one, the ones that they find in search engines, and number two, what they find. While if they were shopping in person and they showed up to your place of business, they would be convinced that you are an amazing, reputable business and they absolutely want to buy from you. In the online space, if they search for you and they find that you have dysfunctional, outdated website, or maybe don't even have a website,
Yep.
they're going to see you as reputable. They're going to be more likely to do business with your competitors than maybe they would in an actual in-person and type of interaction. So
Yeah.
it's created this whole different online shopping dynamic where having a good, modern, friendly, search engine optimized website and a nice, healthy online presence is more advantageous than ever. I know we've harped on that over the last couple of months.
Yeah.
That's absolutely
Look,
been a
it's
key feature
absolutely
of our
correct,
talks,
Miles.
but yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely plays into our SEO SEM
It's
conversation here.
it's the difference between a big, beautiful, brand new storefront on Mass Street and having a dilapidated building falling apart in a forgotten strip mall on the edge of town.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, which one do you want to do business with? It's pretty important stuff. One other important thing, Miles, I'll throw into this SEM discussion. We'll give a shout out to our YouTube viewers here. We'll give YouTube a little bit of love since we're streaming live on YouTube these days, and that is, we're big fans of the combination, if you will, of Google SEM with YouTube, where you can have pre-roll or mid-roll videos show up uh, that will be paired exactly to Google search results. So I'm sure we've all probably experienced this as a consumer. We're searching for something, we're wanting to buy a new, we're doing a bunch of research on Google, and then we go and we want to watch a Michael Jordan video on YouTube, and the first thing pops up is a car ad, right? Car commercial. Well, that's all done through search engine marketing, and it's a very, very effective way to get in front of people. Don't poo-poo the pre-roll video. I know a lot of people think, oh my God, those things are so annoying, they don't work. Yes, they do work. They actually have one of the highest conversion rates of any kind of marketing out there. You just have to do a good video, and you have to put something important to the audience in the first 3 seconds. But yeah, it's very, very powerful tool that should not be overlooked.
Yeah, and this is probably a point to throw in something that I didn't realize a lot of people knew, but if you didn't know already, Google owns, accurately, the company that owns Google also owns YouTube. So those two tools really do play very nicely together. I was talking about doing, Google AdWords and Google Analytics because then they can pass data back and forth and you can get some incredibly detailed and powerful metrics there. But also working in YouTube, putting in some of those pre-roll ads or pairing an AdWords campaign with some YouTube advertising efforts, then those tools all play nicely together as well. And you can combine audiences, and there's a bunch of fun sort of overlaps that you can leverage when advertising cross platforms like that. So I think that came up in a conversation a few weeks back. I forget who I was talking to, but I mentioned that, Google owned YouTube, and they're just like, "What? What are you talking about?" Like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's all the same people, same stuff
And,
behind the curtain."
and it's a lot of people don't realize that YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world, and it has been for several years now. I mean, it's really, really important to have some sort of a presence. I feel like on YouTube, even if it's just having your company channel up there and posting regular content to it. Actually,
Yeah,
let me can I just add one more piece of value for that? Because somebody might say, okay, well, what kind of value or what kind of content am I going to do to provide value? And so here's something that I really love is when I'll give an example. Okay, um, a boating company. Okay, when a boating company does how-to videos on how to winterize your boat, how to take care of your boat, how to safely put your boat into the water and take it out, et cetera, et cetera. A new boat comes out, and they are the first ones in the category to do a review on that boat. It brings so much traffic to their channel of people who had no idea who they were, but they love that product and they love that category. And now they're finding that company over all the other companies because they're not out there necessarily searching to buy a boat, right? This is when we get into more top of the funnel stuff. But in the boating category, they're going to be a customer someday, or maybe they've already been a customer. This is a long buying funnel, of course, this category I'm talking about. So it's really important that you're nurturing all aspects of the funnel. And by providing value to them without being salesy, that company is getting the know, like, and time. And the trust part is maybe the most important thing. And that's what they're building there. And so that comes in the top of the funnel. And then when the customer is ready to buy, they've already leaped far ahead of the rest of the competition, who's out there probably just doing middle of the marketing, or they're doing the, I've been here since 1947, I'm family owned, come see me because I exist type of marketing. And the person who's going above and beyond and bringing the value is the one who's going to win. And that's so easy to do on YouTube these days. So there's a little tactical aspect for the audience out there.
All right. Well, as one has just come in here, this is a good time. It's a good time, Annie, to remind you that this is a live stream, live show. We're right here, right now to answer your questions. So this is supposed to be an open Q&A. Please throw your questions into the comments. If you've had any experience working with anything that we're talking about and you just want to jump in the conversation, please, again, go in the comments. Or if you're watching this later, then please email us your questions at askwildman@wildmanweb.com. I'm sure to get to your questions next Wednesday at 11 when we're live streaming to both our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. That being said, we did get a question over here on what we were talking about from our friend Jeff, Mr. Jeff Fry. Thanks for tuning in. What kind of investment goes into using pixel ads? So probably have to expand on this question a little bit, Jeff. When we say pixels, typically that's just that's the tracking code specifically from social media marketing campaigns. So we'll take the tracking pixel from, say, Facebook and add it to your website, and that's how we can tell what kind of traffic is coming from that advertising campaign and going to your website, and how we're getting this traffic over there, who's clicking on it. That does change how so we can retarget people who click on that, or you can remarket to them after they've clicked on that and visited your website. So there's a lot of things that we can do with that, but we don't run specifically pixel ads or pixel only campaigns. Typically, if we're running some sort of campaign, whether that's a Google Ads campaign, or we're advertising on Facebook and Instagram or YouTube or whatever we're doing, we're going to try to track that as much as possible. And if it makes sense in that particular campaign to track it back to a website, then we're going to be using some form of pixel or tracking code. Mike, did you have anything else on that, or anything
sure,
to add
Ross.
on
I'll
pixels?
hop in. You maybe put the question up there for the folks to see at home. But yeah, good question, Jeff. Good morning, sir. So yeah, pixel. We could probably do a whole episode on pixels. That's a deep rabbit hole to get into. But yeah, generally, yeah, like Miles was saying, a pixel is a tool that we use in a campaign. And it's used for a lot of different factors, but the basic things that we use them for are track all the data, to track all the traffic, to find out who went where off of the ad, what did they do when they got to that website or landing page or wherever we're sending them, and then to be able to talk to them afterwards, otherwise known as remarketing or retargeting, meaning that then we can send them ads wherever they go on the internet. So if they go to trigger our pixel, and then they're going to ESPN.com, well, we could theoretically send them an ad that would show up on ESPN.com, reminding them of how great Wildman Web is and you should do business with us, right? So that's the very high level, usage of the pixel. There's a whole lot of other things that you could get into with how to use pixel data and remarket with it, but generally speaking, it's a part of every single campaign that we do, whether it's across Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Google. We use pixels every single time we can. The only reason why we wouldn't use a pixel is if we're dealing with a company who maybe they're a franchise of a Fortune 500 company, and they don't have the back-end access to their website. They can't, let us in to put the pixel on it. That would be time that we would do that, and even and even when we've had some clients like that, we've we've in the past sometimes set up a whole separate landing page for them, just so they could have a pixel and run marketing to that landing page because we couldn't get one on their corporate page. So it's a very, very important tool that is basically a part of every. Now, some of you at home who do-it-yourself Facebook ads, you may be thinking, how come I've never seen this pixel thing before? Well, it's something that you have to do inside of Ads Manager, and it's certainly not an entry-level thing. Most people who do Facebook ads that aren't a professional at it, they're not going to have a whole lot of use for a pixel because they're not going to understand how to use it. So I guess to kind of answer your question of what investment goes into using a pixel ad, well, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have to hire an agency in order to execute a pixel strategy effectively for you. So that's, of course, an added investment, or you're going to have to invest the time and the energy and your own money. You still don't get out of the whole money part to do it yourself and to teach yourself how to do it. Or you could hire somebody. Miles and I do consulting as well for people that just want to do it themselves but don't want to take a year of failure in order to figure it out, and they want a professional to help them along the way. So maybe you'd hire a professional to help you figure that out. So that would be the investment that it would kind of take in order to start doing or start utilizing pixels. But yeah, it's really just a piece of code that gets put on a website, and then there's all the various other usage we do beyond that. But the main thing that we're going to be able to get from that is all kinds of insane data, which really helps us understand not only the marketing campaign, but more importantly, probably the audience itself of that business. And so we're able to use that data for future campaigns, on and on and on into the future and learn more. Maybe not even about the market. Maybe we'll learn something about that and we'll switch something in-house. That, hey, actually, you guys are totally set up your retail plan wrong based on what we found that people like according to the pixel data. So all kinds of good stuff that you can glean from it.
Yeah, and probably one of the things that we say more often, people are tired of hearing us say at this point, is that testing and measurement is key to doing anything that we're talking about, anything in digital marketing, anything with technology. You got to measure what you're doing. You got to test it out, see what works, see what doesn't, and have a way of tracking that. So no matter what kind of effort that you're doing, any kind of marketing effort, if you're doing, let's say, SEM, if you're doing SEO, if you're doing Facebook ads, if you're getting into YouTube, or doing email marketing, whatever it is, make sure that you have a good way to measure things. So Pixel here is really just a measurement tool, but it's definitely one to leverage. And if you are running any kind of Google ads, Facebook ads, anything like that, and you aren't leveraging a Pixel, do it. You definitely do that.
Yeah.
It's going to increase the effectiveness of your campaign. I don't know, double it. Some sort of massive improvement there, based on
Yeah.
what you can do and really extend the functionality of those advertising platforms.
That's a good point, Miles. I'll double that recommendation. If you're going to spend real money on a Facebook campaign, by real money, I spend anything over $500 probably a month. Don't do it without Pixel. Bad idea.
All right. Well, Jeff, if you want us to go any further, let us know in the comments. Anyone else have any questions, please comments. I got one comment here from Shannon. Do you guys have a package for helping with my website and SEO? A short answer, yes. Long answer is we don't really do a lot of packages, but rather we'll look at your specific website, your company, your need typically for you. A lot of this stuff is highly individualized, so we try not to, just pre-package and send out the deal of the day, but rather talk to our clients specifically, figure out exactly what they need, build something out for you, and then send that out. But I'll talk to you offline about that. If you want to set up a meeting, then you can go to our website, wildmanweb.com, and click on Schedule a Consult. All right, so I'll use this minute here before we kind of come into our closing run, just to let this is Ask Wildman open Q&A. If you have any questions, throw them in the comments. Make sure to follow us every week. We're doing this every Wednesday at 11, live streaming to our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. So pick your poison there and tune in live. If you are watching this later, you can still involve yourself by emailing us at askwildman@wildmanweb.com, and we are doing this to be a resource and as a public service, or trying to get out in front of as many people as possible, answer as many questions as possible, um, and just be as big a resource as possible. So if you can help us by liking and sharing this video, telling your friends about this live stream, getting people in and watching this and engaging with us, then hopefully we can be more useful to more people. So let us know on that. We also have a couple of other resources out there for anyone wanting to learn more about the stuff we're talking about. You can go to our website, wildmanweb.com. We've got a bunch of resources there, but specifically our articles section, wildmanweb.com/articles. There's a bunch of quick little sort of blog post articles that go into social media, digital marketing, SEO. There's a whole SEO, SEM article over there that goes into what we're talking about today. Nothing crazy technical, crazy. Cite all of our sources in there. So if you really want to learn about something, that can be a really good starting point, a good jumping off point to dive down one of these rabbit holes and really learn about how some of this stuff works. And if you do have a business, you're wanting to leverage your online services or your online presence a little bit more, we also have a toolkit to help you out with that. Go to wildmanweb.com/LBOT and sign up there for some free software, free tools to get you started. There's tools to help you manage your online reputation, reviews, to manage your different social media presences, to establish and spread your listings, like we were talking about earlier in this, to increase your SEO, all sorts of tools in there to kind of get you started and let you hit the ground running. Just to close here, we do have a question coming in from coming into our email inbox, and there's actually a lot of questions in here, but we're just going to hit on one for now and maybe come back to more next week. And that is asking about how to use your website and use your company's online presence to expand customer trust. The sort of lead marketing strategist over here, strategy man, I'm gonna toss that over to you. Maybe hit on your top 2 or 3 points for using
Yes.
technology and digital marketing to expand trust.
I love talking about trust. Thank you, Miles. As I say ad nauseum, the 3 most important things that we should be doing with our marketing are getting our audience to know, like, and trust us. I think the know is the one we probably spend the most time talking about, and that's probably the easiest one to figure out. You just got to get attention, right? So you go to where the attention is and you make some noise there. Getting people to like you, fairly the next step in terms of easiness, and that is putting out something that's relevant to them in content-wise. But how do we build trust? That's an excellent question. In terms of our online presence, well, I think a little bit we touched on it before, and that's, first of all, just making sure that you have an up-to-date, something that looks presentable, if you will, because that is, your billboard to the world right now. It's your storefront, is your website. And so that's the first thing. It's got to look like something that's professional. It's got to look like something that has not been thrown together or neglected. But further, beyond that, I think a big thing that we can do and set up some way to do one-on-one communication with our audience. And so maybe that's setting up a portal to take suggestions or take questions and have them quickly be answered, through your website or through your app. Or maybe it's doing stuff like this, doing live videos, live presentations. You're actually able to interact in real time with your consumer. But people don't like walls. People don't like people to not get access to their companies that they're spending money with. That's certainly something that's going to erode trust. The thing that we can be doing specifically on our website is really focusing on that About Us page. That could be a great opportunity for you to really show who you are, besides just being a stale company. Obviously, customer reviews and testimonials that we've talked about a lot on the show since COVID hit, especially. It's been more important than ever. And that's something that you should be toting on your social media. When you get a great review, you should be sharing that with your audience, and it should be something that is at least easily able to be found on your website, if not something that's proudly displayed on your website. And maybe something that doesn't get done enough, Miles, is white papers and case studies. I'd really like to see people put more case studies out there. Speaking of which, we've got some case studies that we're putting out ourselves. We're taking our own advice and doing some of these things too. But that's a great way, to really kind of prove, if you will, the proof is in the pudding. One of the biggest mistakes that companies make is they make unsubstantiated claims. This goes back to Roy Williams, the Wizard of Ads, and the 12 causes of advertising failure. And that's a big one. Just basically saying that you're the best is complete BS. But next time you watch a commercial break, or you're scrolling on the internet and you see some ads, just look at how many companies that's really their entire messaging is an unsubstantiated claim. So you have a third party, an independent third party, validating what you're saying is so important. So that's going to be customer reviews, testimonials, or like I said, case studies is a really big one that I don't think enough companies are taking advantage of. And I see the other thing, off the top of my head, I would say we talk about this a lot, and that is documenting and showing what's happening behind the scenes. Not having all your content being this polished, Hollywood, if you will, edited piece of content. Show something real. Show your people working. Show your people making mistakes. Show you making mistakes, right? Because we all do that. And that's one of my favorite things is when a company does make a mistake, to come out and admit it, and to put that out there. I think that really goes a long way to building trust. Also taking misconceptions. All of us have misconceptions about our industry, about our product, about our services, maybe about our company, the company itself. And so instead of hiding behind that and trying to skirt it underneath the rug, I really love it when companies come out and they address it head on, and they tackle those misconceptions and they try to overcome them. And I think that goes a long way to building trust. But yeah, Miles, we should probably come back and do a whole. I know we're running out of town. We're running out of time here today. We got some meetings coming up, but we should probably spend a whole episode, or at least half an episode, digging into the trust factor and what companies can do in order to improve their online presence and their online content to really build that trust factor up with their audience. Because to me, of the three things, that's the one that you really need to spend the most time on. It's the hardest one to accomplish, but it's the one that's going to create the most customer retention. And of course, that's so important to building a long-lasting business and increase your sales year over year, is to have that retention base, so you're not having to deal with a bunch of churn. And then when you go out and you acquire new customers, it's just gravy on top instead of trying to scramble back to where you were. So those are some of my thoughts about how to build trust online.
Some good points, and I think we'll consider that our teaser for next week's episode of Ask Wildman. We'll maybe dive a little bit and let Mike really go on that trust factor. So like I said, we are doing this every week, live streaming to our Facebook page and YouTube. If you're just coming in now, make sure to check in next Wednesday at 11. We'll be doing this live stream again. This is meant to be an open Q&A and involve anyone and everyone who wants to jump in here. So please like and share and tell your friends about this live stream. If you're watching live, put your questions in the comments, or feel free to email us if you're watching this later at askwildman@wildmanweb.com. I do have that address scrolling below us, but I think that's it for us today. So thanks for everyone for watching, and for those of you who jumped in with your questions. Mike, thank you as always for your time and wisdom.
Appreciate it, Miles. Thanks to everybody who watched. Thanks for the question. Everybody have a prosperous week, and see you next week.
Awesome. All righty. Like I said, check in with us next week for another episode of Ask Wildman.